Welcome back to the Illuminated page, a program for readers and writers. I'm Ruth Buchanan, and today we are talking about the plays The Thing. If you recognize that quote, you know that it's from Hamlet, which is one of Shakespeare's most beloved plays. That might not be true, actually. Hamlet's really long, and it's really depressing. Did you know, originally it was 5 hours long? And everyone who performs it cuts it way down because who has the time, even though it's Shakespeare? But that's not my point. My point is, the play's The Thing is a line from Hamlet, and it's actually a line that Hamlet says because he has cooked up this plot to use a play to catch his stepfather, who is also his uncle. It's very complicated. And what he says is, the play's the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of a king, or something like that. You can proofread it, and no, you don't proofread things when they're out loud. What do? Fact check. The point is, plays, like Shakespeare's Hamlet, is all dialogue. That's the point of a play. And that's actually the thing we are meant to talk about today, not the play, Hamlet, or the play within a play, which Hamlet says is the thing. Our topic for today is dialogue. That's the thing. Actually, Hamlet is not the only play of Shakespeare's that has a play within a play. There's also A Midsummer Night's Dream. That one uses it. There's another one too. Oh, The Taming of the Shrew. That whole play is a play within a play. Actually, once I wrote a play about that play within a play, so it was a play within a play within a play. The point is, when we approach dialogue and thinking about dialogue and how we want to shape the dialogue in our stories and in our plays, because let's face it, some of us write plays as well as stories. Well, plays are stories. I gotta get myself on track here. Dialogue. As we plan our dialogue, there are two things that we need to consider. First of all, dialogue needs to sound natural, which means our dialogue needs to follow the same lines and flows of conversation that the people around us follow. So dialogue needs to be the same as real life, but it also needs to be different for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's fiction, so if it's the same, it just means you're copying down what you're hearing people saying, and face it, most conversations are not that interesting to listen to. So it needs to be different, but it also needs to be different because you need to shape it. You need to shape it according to the characters whom you are writing. You need to shape it according to the story, the particular story you're trying to tell, set at a particular place at a particular time in which people talk in particular ways. There's nothing more annoying to me than reading a book that is supposed to be historical fiction and the characters don't speak historically the way people spoke at that time. Of course, there's limits to this because writers have to consider their audience and what their audience now can understand compared with how people spoke back then. But the point is, dialogue does need to be different from how we speak now if you are writing anytime other than right now. And face it, you shouldn't be writing right now while I'm talking because that's rude. Dialogue needs to be the same in that it needs to feel realistic, but it also needs to be different. How does it need to be different? That's where it gets tricky. Because a lot of writers, even ones who are really good with dialogue, can't always put a finger on what they're doing that works. All I can say is, as a reader, I know when it's working. When I'm reading a book where the dialogue is just spot on and strong and feels natural and realistic, yet somehow different in a way that surprises and delights me, I know when it's working. As a writer, I can't always tell when it's working. I know that dialogue is one of my strengths because, face it, my editors have told me this, my readers have told me this, and I'm originally a playwright, so originally everything I wrote was dialogue, and if I didn't have a strength in it, I wouldn't have gotten published as a playwright. I'm not making these videos to boast about myself, but I'm just saying, even as someone who has a strength in dialogue, I can't tell you what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, or why I'm doing it that way. All I know is if I'm writing a conversation that somehow feels off, what I have to do is take it to beta readers and ask them, does this work? Because there's a point at which I lose all objectivity and subjectivity even, and ability to process and analyze my own work. So I need to come to someone else and say, does this work or not? I can't just trust one or two people. Sometimes their own personal evaluations don't always agree with each other. So I find like an odd number of people, like 5 to 7, and I ask them, does this work? If the majority says yes, then I move on. And if the majority says no, I keep rewriting it until we all reach a consensus, because I want my dialogue to work. And yes, there have been times where I've rewritten things many times because my first readers weren't happy. Actually, the ending of my new novel, Unseasonable, how many endings did I wind up writing? I think it was like 5. Do you remember? Yeah. Did you read all 5?
Yeah.
I wrote up to 5 endings of my new novel, Unseasonable. The first ending wasn't bad. I was actually happy with it. But when my beta team got their beady little eyes on it, a few of them said, the ending isn't bad, but it's also not good. What does that mean? Well, it just meant it wasn't good. So then I wrote a new one that was good, but not great. And then I wrote another new one that was also good, but not great. But eventually I wrote one that we were all happy with. And you know what? I talked to someone just 2 nights ago, and the first thing she said was, I loved the ending. And I thought, that's not really down to me. That's down to a team of people who worked together to help us find the right ending with the right kind of dialogue that made everybody happy. That's it for another week of the Illuminated page. Join us next week for a new topic, and between now and then, don't forget to pick up my new release, Unseasonable. See you then.